Kansas State was just a few plays away from making the college football playoff in 2023. And that sounds ridiculous, coming from a team that went 9-4 last year. But all four of their losses at Missouri, at Oklahoma State, at Texas, and against Iowa State were all by one possession. This team was much better than you realize and much closer to a title than you realize, which is why the Wildcats come in at number 20 in our way too early top 25. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. Ready to break down Kansas State's schedule for this upcoming season. Can they get over the hump? Can they win those close games and maybe contend for another Big 12 title, maybe even in a playoff spot in 2024? As always, please continue to like, to comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. Tons of exclusive content over there, guys, to help you get through this offseason, because here at the Gridiron Expert, college football never dies. The season never ends here at our channel. We want you to become a part of it and become a part of our GE Nation. So I love this Kansas State team, guys. 2 years ago, they win the Big 12. They upset TCU in the conference game, go to the Sugar Bowl. Last year, had aspirations to do it again in what felt like a pretty wide-open conference. Found themselves in the hunt for a while, just unable to deliver. Lost by 3 on a wild field goal against Missouri. Kind of failed to show up against Oklahoma State. Lost that game by 8. Nearly took down Texas, which would have drastically changed the entire playoff race as we know it. Maybe get 2 SEC teams in there. Maybe Florida State gets in there. Who knows? And then Iowa State just could not stop the Iowa State offense in the season finale. They went 9-4 with a bowl win over NC State. Chris Klieman always gets the most out of his team. He's going to do it again this year with a very talented offense. Dual threat quarterback in Avery Johnson, who showed signs and flashes of brilliance throughout last year, including in that bowl win over NC State. They've got a very dangerous running back course. That RPO-style offense coming out of Manhattan is going to be so tough to stop. They do have to replace the majority of their offensive line, and they do lose Colin Klein as their offensive coordinator. So that is a big blow to this Kansas State offense. But the talent is there to literally run you off the field, and the defense, per usual under Klieman, should remain solid. The Big 12 loses Oklahoma. They lose Texas, both off to the SEC. Yes, they add some elite contenders like Utah, Arizona, and obviously some of the other teams that joined last year like BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, guys like that. But the conference as a whole seems pretty wide open. And you take a look at the schedule for Kansas State, their season to me will be defined, and you will know what this Wildcats team can do by the end of September. By the time they reach that first bye week on October 5th, you'll know, hey, we need to keep our eyes on Kansas State. This is a team that could challenge for a Big 12 title and maybe even a playoff spot. Remember, the playoff has expanded to 12 teams this season. Or you'll look at this team and go, man, they just weren't what we thought they were going to be. Because here's the thing. They should take care of UT Martin. No worries there. But then that 4-game stretch between September 7th and September 28th, that's going to define their season. At Tulane, Arizona, at BYU, and Oklahoma State. Luckily, 2 of those big games are at home for the Wildcats. That's massive. We'll start with Tulane. This is a team that just because they lost Willie Fritz, who ironically went to Houston in the Big 12, does not mean that Tulane's going to be a pushover, a slouch, or not going to be as good as they've been in years past. John Sumrall, who was hired at Tulane, is a phenomenal coach. Ironically, Kansas State played John Sumrall and his Troy team last year in Manhattan. Kansas State won that game 42-13, so they have experience playing and coaching against him. But Tulane, no slouch. New Orleans, that environment, no slouch. We saw Tulane nearly take down Ole Miss last year in New Orleans. So if Kansas State is not up to par, Tulane's going to be very hungry to get a big Power 5 victory over a good, should be nationally ranked Kansas State team. That is no slouch. Then you get Arizona. Arizona, first conference game of the year. This Wildcats team is really interesting. You know, Jed Fish surprises a lot of us by leaving that job to go to Washington. Brennan comes in now as the head coach. Interesting hire from San Jose State. Not quite sure how Arizona's going to pan out here. An early Big 12 game for them, now coming over from the Pac-12, so they're going to be kind of new to this environment. Manhattan's going to love to be like, hey, welcome to the league, Arizona. This ain't the Pac-12 anymore, even though the Pac-12 was really good last year. But Arizona's got the offense, right? They've got the talent there. Not many players, as we know of, defected from Arizona, transferred out, left the program following the loss of Jed Fish. This is an Arizona team that can still contend for a conference title in their first year. But when it comes to coaching, Chris Kleiman's got the edge here, and there's no doubt about that. And Kansas State will have home field advantage. But Arizona, not going to be a slouch. BYU and Provo, not going to be a slouch. That is one of the more difficult places to play within the conference. And BYU, while struggling last year in their first year in the Big 12, should take a step forward in year 2 and be a little bit more competitive, especially in conference play. And then Oklahoma State, they could be the favorite in the Big 12 this year. They made the Big 12 championship last year. They returned practically everybody on offense. The defense was atrocious last year, meaning in my eyes it can't really get much worse or any worse in 2024. So the defense should take a step forward. They have one of, if not the best coach in the conference in Mike Gundy. This is a very good Oklahoma State team that beat Kansas State 29-21 in Stillwater last year. That Oklahoma State team is going to test Kansas State's defense. The Arizona team is going to test Kansas State's defense. The fact that they both get the games at home in Manhattan are huge for the Wildcats, but that is going to determine the season for them. If they can survive those first 5 games at 4-1 or even 5-0, Kansas State's going to be looking really dang good. But if they're 3-2 or worse, you can go ahead and chalk it up to just, hey, I hope we go to another decent bowl game this year. Those 5 games, really those 4 games in the month of September, the whole month of September is massive for Kansas State. That will show us what they're made of. Because here's the thing. After the bye week, there aren't too many games that scare me. At Colorado, the Buffalo still overrated. Maybe they're going to be a little bit better than they were last year. We did not buy the hype going into 2023. Many of you did not buy the hype either. And if you didn't buy it, you were smart. Colorado did not pan out. Yes, going on the road to Boulder, not easy, but Kansas State going to be well rested. And if Colorado can't fix their defense, Kansas State will dominate them and run all over them. West Virginia on the road, that'll be a tough one. Really, if I'm looking at the rest of the schedule, guys, there are 2 games that scare me the rest of the way following their bye week. It's at West Virginia and it's at Iowa State. So we'll go through the ones that don't. Colorado doesn't bother me that much. Kansas State has dominated this rivalry series for well over a decade now. Yes, they barely survived the Jayhawks last year, 31-27. Kansas, not going to be a slouch at all. Jalen Daniels, hopefully back fully healthy. Devin Neal, that offense going to be really, really good. The defense, kind of like Oklahoma State, really can't get much worse. It was better in 2023 for the Jayhawks. In theory, it continues to trend in that direction. Kansas State, though, gets that game at home. Massive for them. On the road at Houston, they beat Houston 41-0 last year. I don't see a 41-point swing. Willie Fritz is the new head man down in Houston. But again, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get his style in there. Willie Fritz is a program builder, not a program fixer. He will fix the program in time after he takes the time to build it. That's how it works. So Houston on the road, Kansas State dominated last year. I just don't know if Houston's going to be able to hang with them this year. Expect to be closer, just maybe not win. Get the bye week again. Arizona State, atrocious last year, should be a little bit better. Has to come to Manhattan. Cincinnati, atrocious last year, should be a little bit better in their second year in the conference. Has to come to Manhattan on senior day. So then again, that leaves those 2 games. At West Virginia, who won 9 games last year under Neil Brown. That's going to be tough, no doubt about that. And then Iowa State, who just torched Kansas State's defense last year in the snow. I mean, the Wildcats had no answer. Gave up, 3, 4, 60, 70-plus yard touchdowns last year to the Cyclones. It was absolutely ridiculous. Abu Sama ran all over them. Now they got to go to Ames, a very difficult place to play. That Iowa State defense was the number 1 defense in the Big 12 last year, and they returned tons of offense production as well. The defense should remain very strong. The offensive production should be better. The Cyclones came in ranked number 25. And are way too early top 25. We believe they are a top 25 caliber team. Getting them at home, the Cyclones getting Kansas State at home, is going to be massive for them. So you look at the schedule again, guys. The middle pack of the schedule, not too bad. The month of October, not terrible. The majority of November, not terrible. If Kansas State can come out of the month of September, we won't even count August 31st. They should beat UT Martin. If they come out of September at 4-1 or better, this team can contend for a Big 12 title. They can contend for a playoff spot. West Virginia could trip them up. Iowa State could trip them up. Everything else, I'm not saying is going to be a win. We're not predicting records and schedules yet, but looks very, very favorable. I would expect the Wildcats to be favored in those games. And Chris Kleiman, to me, he doesn't really screw up very often. You don't see this team fail to show up to play. He always has his team ready to go. They can beat anybody on any given day. And a wide open conference, Kansas State, once again, is an elite contender and, dare I say, should be one of the favorites. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos. Check out everything down in the description below. Our website, thegridironexpert.com, gives you tons of exclusive content over there to help you get through this offseason. The season will be here before we know it, but do not miss out on our future content, the schedule previews, the predictions coming up here in just a few months. You cannot miss out on those. Make sure you hit that bell, the notification bell, so you don't miss out on those future videos and become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.